Hey sweet friends, welcome to a new member exclusive video. In this video, I'm going to share with you how I set up to take pictures of my cookies. This video has been requested many times, so I am so glad that I'm finally able to give this to you guys so that you can see what I do, and I hope that it's helpful for you in your cookie journey. To begin, I think the most important thing that you can do when taking pictures of your cookies is to find a window and place a table in front of your window and take your pictures there. No amount of artificial lighting will ever replace natural light when it comes to taking pictures. While I have taken pictures at night and while I have taken pictures on extremely rainy and cloudy days, my best pictures are the pictures that I'm able to take in front of a window on a sunny day. But because life does happen and sometimes you aren't able to take pictures in the middle of the day, and because no one can control the weather, it is important to also have, in addition to your natural light, if you can, do have artificial lighting. In this case, I am using a light umbrella. I have shared the importance of a light umbrella in a previous member exclusive video, so I'll be sure and link that down below, as well as the light umbrella that I use and recommend. But really, any light will work. A ring light will work. A lamp will work. I just recommend that if you do have a lamp, that you get a daylight bulb, because the daylight bulbs are more of a white light instead of the warm light, and a white light is always best for taking pictures. Now here you see me just looking around my office and my home actually for decorations that I can use as photo props in this video. I love when I can use things for more than one reason. So if I can use my photo props as decorations when I'm not using them, then that is a win-win for me. When thinking about photo props, I like to think about layers and textures to really add some depth and warmth to your pictures. Now I do gravitate towards things that are wood toned. And that's just simply because it adds a neutral background, but it's also got that warmth to it that I feel like is kind of signature for what my pictures are. But this is kind of an ever-evolving process. I don't think I will stick with this type of picture taking for forever. I definitely actually just ordered some new picture props, and so I will experiment with some colors soon. It's also very popular for cookiers to use cookie sheets, baking pans, to use those in their pictures as props, which I simply do not do because my baking pans are so stained from many years of use. But if you were to buy a brand new baking pan that is just strictly for picture taking, I think that's a fantastic idea. Most bakers will line the bottom with a piece of parchment paper. Morgan with Dough by Mo is the first one that I saw taking her pictures like this, and ever since then I've really seen this trend take off. And I think it is fantastic because you do have something that's cookie related. You have a baking pan, but also you have texture. So you have your metal, you have the white of the parchment paper, and then you have whatever your background is, which is typically just on a white table of some sort. So there is that element as well. You can definitely, instead of doing all of these textures that I'm doing here and all of these layers, you're more than welcome to just use a baking pan with parchment paper and just take pictures that way. Also, I did cover my table, which is just a folding bistro table. It's what I have on hand. I did cover it with a tablecloth that is white. Another easy option for you is to just have a white background or a black background. For years, I used a black background for all of my pictures. It was just a large picture frame that I had gotten from Hobby Lobby with a wood background that I had just painted black. It also was white to begin with, so I could have just used white. So you can go to a craft store and look for just a wood surface of any kind. If it's already painted white, great, you have a place to put your cookies. If it's not painted white, then you can paint it white, or you can do whatever color you want as your surface. And I placed my cookies on that, and I took pictures of my cookies all grouped together like that for years. So you don't have to use all these fancy props. You really don't. You can make stunning pictures with just a solid background of some sort. White, black, anything will work. You do not have to feel like you have to include all of these extra props to take good pictures. And you also can just use a tablecloth. So the perk of a tablecloth is it can be washed and it can be wiped off. And so cookies, they have butter in them, and so you will sometimes get grease, like butter little stains on your surface. So with my solid background, the perk of that is I could just wipe it off every time it was ready to go for the next set of pictures. With a tablecloth, you can get the kind that you can wipe off, you can wash them. So there is perks to that as well. I prefer that over just cardstock or paper of any kind, because really you only get 1 or 2 uses out of a cardstock background, because again, that butter will get onto those papers and the grease will stay there and it'll show up in your pictures. Whatever surface you choose, try to get one that you can wipe off or that you can wash, just to protect yourself some headaches later. And really it's about your bottom dollar. So if you're having to constantly buy new backdrops, if it's paper, then that's money out of your pocket. Whereas if you can invest one time, get the use out of whatever you purchased, your wood background, a tablecloth, these wood surfaces here, these are cutting boards, or the middle here that you see the wood I'm using, that is just a Lazy Susan. So all of this pretty much was bought at Hobby Lobby, which is a craft store here in the United States. So feel free to kind of experiment, but I definitely recommend getting reusable surfaces for your pictures. But let's talk about what everything else I'm using in this picture is. So the very bottom wicker looking thing was actually a placemat. And then I found a lacy type of placemat. And then also the green thing in the middle was also a greenery placemat. So all of this was kind of found in the same kitchen area of Hobby Lobby, which in our Hobby Lobbies is near the front, near the seasonal stuff. Now wood beads are also kind of trending, and some cookiers love it, some cookiers hate it. I have a couple of wood beads. I have some black ones here, and then I have some natural wood ones that I also use. And again, for me, it's just about that added texture and layer and depth. So wood beads just kind of give a little bit more of all of those things. So that's why I use them still. I'm not always going to use them, I'm aware of that, but for now, I still like them in my pictures. Now for this set, I also did find some graduation themed confetti. So it had like some graduation hats and it had 2023 on it. And so I included those all spread throughout my backdrop so that it's kind of in the background of my pictures as well. And I included a bowl, a wood bowl, to kind of hold some of them in addition to sprinkling them throughout. Normally I can count on Hobby Lobby to have some really great holiday themed props that you can add to your pictures. And I really, really like to get the ones that I can use year after year. Sadly, this has 2023 on it, so I'm not going to be able to use it beyond these pictures. But if you can find props, that holiday props or any props of any sort that you can use more than once and you can use them year after year, I highly encourage you to do so. Those are always a wise investment. So I have a drawer in my office that just holds picture props for various holidays, and I just kind of pull them out year after year. But I did this set in early March, and Hobby Lobby just didn't have hardly any graduation themed stuff out at that point in time. I was able to see a lot more later on as it got closer to May, but sadly for this point in time, I was kind of stuck with what I could find, and that's really all I could locate. But if you are doing your pictures closer to a holiday, your craft stores, even your grocery stores should have better options for you for your pictures. And when picking out props for my pictures that are holiday themed, try to remember that you're going to want things that are flat lay. So because you're taking your picture from the top down, yes, you do want to add texture to your pictures, like with your beads and with your backgrounds. However, you want to also make sure that you don't have things that sit up, because that's not going to look good in a picture. So it needs to be able to lay flat on a table. Even if it does have some depth, even if it has some texture, that's fine. Just remember, you're going to be looking at that prop from the top down. So when purchasing your items for your props, make sure that that will still hold whatever look it has. It'll still look good from looking from the top down with your camera. So even if you have to pull out your camera, your phone, and hold it in your hand and take a picture of it with your phone on top of the prop and see what that looks like with it laying down, that's a great idea. I typically will try to find things that are smaller as well, because you don't want the prop to take up too much of your picture. You want it to enhance your cookies, not take over your cookies. So you're going to look for things that maybe are on the smaller side. So confetti works. For Valentine's Day, I have little hearts that look great in pictures. For St. Patrick's Day, I found a little ribbon that said lucky. It was like a little banner, and so I was able to flat lay that down on top of the table and take pictures with that. I also used some shamrock confetti in that set. With 4th of July, getting those little like toothpick flags are great. Things like that. You want kind of miniature sized items. For Easter, I used the small eggs that I could find, like robin egg type sized candy. I didn't use candy, but those are the kind of eggs. If you find those small eggs, you can use things like that. So keep in mind, you want it to enhance your picture. You don't want it to take over your picture. And you want to always remember that this item is going to be flat on your table. So you need it to be able to still work in that picture, looking down on it instead of looking at it like it's not going to be eye level. So like a potted plant, for instance, isn't going to work, but flat greenery like I have here, well, that will work. Or a vine of greenery will work. Whereas like a potted plant wouldn't, because it's too big and bulky and it sits up. So you can't really get the full experience of that greenery in that way. And in the future, I think I'll take you with me along on a journey to my craft store when I am buying some picture props, just so that you can see kind of how I think through things as I purchase them. The other thing I want to mention as I am setting up my picture here is I am putting the best cookies. So I'm looking for the cookies that I think I did the best job on, the ones that have the least amount of flaws. I'm going to put those first and center. So you need to be aware of the area that you are going to be taking the most pictures of. And typically that will be the center of your picture. So that space needs to be where you put the best cookies, the ones that you are the most proud of, because those are the ones that are going to be displayed in your pictures and videos over and over and over again. So if you do the very best ones in the center and then you build out your picture with the other cookies to enhance your design, that's more than fine. Just remember, the focus will be on those center cookies. So the ones that maybe aren't as perfect or you just cared less for, I mean, a lot of times your cookies are so similar that you don't have like your favorites because they all look very similar. Just look through those cookies that are in the center, make sure that there aren't really any obvious flaws in them. If there are some obvious flaws in them, that's no big deal. Don't worry about it. You can always do some editing later, which we'll talk about, but I definitely think that if you can focus on the best designs and make sure one of each design is represented in the middle of your picture, and then build out from there, you will have the best, most consistent setup for your cookies and for the pictures. You are also going to want to continually to edit your props. You're going to edit your background. So as I'm building up the pictures, well, then I'm also going to continue to kind of change and modify the props that I have laying around. So whenever I first set up a space, a flat lay for picture taking, I know I will modify it. I am never 100% set on my space until I have it all completely done and I look at it through my camera lens. So the object for me is to just continue to build up this space, build up this area, have the different layers, have the cookies out in various ways. Sometimes I use a whole lot of the extra cookies. Sometimes I only use just one of each design. Sometimes I use a whole lot of the space. Sometimes I want it to just be up close photos. Other times I'll add in icing bags or things like that to fill in the dead space more. So you just have to be flexible. I think that's the main thing. Continue to take your time, build up your picture area, taking space, and then the real test is going to be getting out your camera. So here I have my phone and I am taking test pictures of this area to see in my camera lens what areas need more props, what areas are empty, what areas may need less. Sometimes I have cookies that I set down that are completely out of frame and I didn't realize that. And so I have to move the cookies into frame or move them completely to a different area. So you're never done setting up your pictures until you look at that space through your camera lens, because your camera lens will see it differently than your eyes. Don't hesitate to continue to pull out that camera, make changes, pull out the camera again, make changes. So you can see my phone is open with the camera lens open, and I'm just going to continue to check my crop area until I am satisfied with what it looks like through my camera lens. Because I am a proponent of using what you have instead of buying new, I actually have had this bistro table that is the surface of my cookies. I've had this for a few years. The downside to this bistro table is that it's a large table. It's taller than a normal table. So I actually have to stand up on a stool to be able to be tall enough to take pictures from above the cookies. So I don't recommend a large table like this. However, I used to take pictures on a shorter table, which was just a coffee table, and I would take pictures in our living room because it had great window lighting as well. And I could easily just pull that coffee table over to the window, and then I could place my wood board on top of the coffee table and take pictures that way. And that did work just fine. But really the downside to taking pictures and videos, especially if you're having to photograph and video more than one set at a time. So when I had a whole lot of orders in a week, I would have a picture taking day, which would typically be Friday mornings. I would take pictures of all the sets that I had done and that were ready to be delivered or picked up for that weekend. And so typically my pickup days were Friday afternoons and Saturday mornings. And so I would spend Friday morning taking pictures and packaging up all the cookies every week. The advantage to that is that you have to set up your picture prop one time, right? You have your background, you have your flat lay, you have to set it up one time, and then you just switch out the cookies and you just go through your sets that way. And so you're not having to reset up what I'm doing here. You're not having to do that over and over again. You do it once, you get all your pictures done for the week, and then you're done. The bad part about that is that you are spending a lot of time taking pictures and video, which in my personal experience is back-breaking work. It's just the nature of what we're taking pictures of, right? We were taking pictures of these cookies, which in essence means we have to be above them to take pictures and videos of them. And that absolutely kills my upper back. I'm talking about I am in pain by the time that I get done taking pictures and videos. So circling back to what I was talking about with this bistro table, which I use now, and with the coffee table, which I used in the past, if you don't have the right height on your table, you're going to add extra strain onto your body in taking these pictures and videos. So you might want to experiment with the different surfaces that you have in your home. Find a object, a piece of furniture, something that you can set your cookies upon that is the right height that helps you and your body the most, so that you're not absolutely dying by the time that you're done. It is my priority to soon find a better sized table for me that I am able to take pictures and videos on, so that I'm not hurting so badly when I get done. And I would also like to find something that's collapsible so that it's just not constantly in my way. When I'm not using it, I can put it away, which is why I like this bistro table, because it is a collapsible table. And so I am able to actually even keep the tablecloth on it and collapse it, and I just store it on my wall next to my window, and it's out of the way when I'm not using it. I just need to find a shorter one. But also I did want to explain why you see me keep going up and down on a stool. So that's why, because the table is a tall table. Now I'm still not quite happy with the dead space in my pictures. And so yes, there will be times where I'm zoomed in, but there are times where I'm going to want a larger picture that gets all of my cookies in one picture. And so I still had some dead space, some white area. So I'm just going to keep building that up. So I did find some greenery that I was able to just flat lay right there next to the bowl, so that I had no dead space up top. Is dead space the end of the world? No, it's absolutely not the end of the world. I just like to have a lot of things going on in my pictures. I really like to have that kind of build up. I like to have that depth. And so if I can have most of the dead space covered with something, then that is valuable to me and what I like in my photography. Everybody has totally different tastes. So that is one thing you will learn with your photography, is you don't really need to focus so much on what the masses may think about your styling. It kind of needs to be what you like, because what you like is going to make you happy when you see those pictures. And more than anything, this is also about recording your work, your hard work, your beautiful creations, and encapsulating them forever, because once they leave your home or your bakery or wherever you do your decorating, once they leave you, you never see them again, and they're consumable. So people eat them, and so they are literally gone forever. And so taking pictures and videos are important because you're able to build up your portfolio. You have these images that will last you forever, even though the cookies don't. I highly recommend, if you don't take pictures and videos of every set, at least snap a quick picture or a quick video of every single set that you do. Not only is it valuable for social media, it's also valuable for your clientele, because if you've already done a design and they request it, you have something to reference, to remember how you did it in the past, but also that you can send to your client and say, this is what I've done in the past. Do you want me to repeat this, or would you like to maybe make some changes? And so you have that picture that can give them guidance, and you can have that clear communication with your customers. When I hear of cookiers who don't take pictures of their set, it makes me cringe a little bit, just because there are so many benefits to at least snapping 1 or 2 pictures of every set. In addition to having it for your own portfolio, it also gives your client a picture of their product, either at the time of pickup, which is when I typically would send their pictures. I would send a picture and say, your order is ready for pickup. You can pick up at these times. And so they would have an idea what their cookies looked like before they even arrived. But also there's a vanity aspect here. Occasionally you're going to get lucky and you're going to have a professional photographer photograph your cookies in an event, and you'll get to see them on your customers' personal pages or whatever the company is that you made cookies for. But most of the time, I would say a good 99% of the time, your cookies are never going to look as good as they do when you take pictures of them. So I'll come back to this thought, but I want to go ahead and show you what I'm doing right here in the video. I am making sure that the pictures look good. So these are my test shots, and I think they look really good how they are. So you see in the pictures that I have all of the dead space kind of taken up. So even though looking at the table right now, it looks like my cookies are spread out too far from the Lazy Susan, in the pictures, they aren't. They're spread out just enough so that you can see them in the camera lens. So again, keep in mind, it's not going to be how they look to your eye. It's going to be how they look through the camera lens. Now, these are just my test shots, so I'm still going to go back and take lots of pictures and videos of these cookies. But one of the things I wanted to show you was in my camera app on my phone, the different settings I like to use to take my pictures. So if you are an iPhone user, on the photo options, you'll hit the arrow at the top of your screen and you will choose which size you want to use. So you can either photograph in 4:3 ratio, a square ratio, or 16:9 ratio. I personally prefer to photograph for social media using the 4:3 ratio. That ratio looks best on Instagram and Facebook's feed. The 16:9 is great to video in if you're wanting to make reels, but for photography, I really prefer the 4:3. Now, the square feature was the only way that you could post pictures on Instagram a few years ago, but now the 4:3 takes up more of the feed, the Instagram feed, where a square photo still looks great. It doesn't take up the full screen like a 4:3 does whenever people are scrolling. The other way I take pictures is by using the portrait mode on the iPhone. Now, the portrait mode kind of zooms in on details, and it kind of makes other areas a little bit fuzzy, so it gives it a little bit more of a professional camera look. And with portrait mode, you are able to zoom in 1 times, 2 times, or 3 times, which is great because it gives you options on how close you want to be to the cookies. And I do tend to photograph the cookies at 2 times in portrait mode, but I don't necessarily photograph in portrait mode looking straight down on the cookies. So I'll use the regular photo mode to do wide shots of the cookies. And so remember, when you're doing photography for social media, you need to do both ways. You need to do pictures that are both horizontal and vertical. And I tend to do that with the actual photo app itself, or photo mode, I mean. But if I'm doing close-ups of the cookies, I will move my camera kind of at an angle like you see me doing here. And that's where I will use portrait mode, is I will kind of put my phone on an angle for that portrait mode, because what it will do is when you kind of photograph at an angle when you're in portrait mode, it will blur the edges around your cookie, but your cookie itself will stay in focus. So again, it's just giving that professional look with an iPhone, which I really enjoy. Is it the way I photograph every single picture? No, I have a good mix of both, but I do get a lot of portrait pictures. And I'll even do some portrait mode pictures where there's multiple cookies in one picture, but it's not the full group. It's not the full set. When I do those, I will always do the photo mode, just because portrait is supposed to be for close-ups. It's actually supposed to be for faces, but you're able to use it for close-ups like this and get some really cool details. So portrait really isn't for the far away shots. And so you definitely want to use it in a manner that makes the most sense for photographing your sets, which is to capture the details. When you need the full set, when you need a full picture of all of the cookies, use the photo mode. Now, to help myself, because I am forgetful and there have been too many times to count where I didn't get a shot that I really needed, I try now to always follow a similar routine when I take pictures and videos of my cookies. So I will start with getting the wide shots first. So getting the shots of the full set. So where my phone is far away and I'm getting the whole table, the whole set. I'll try to take as many of those as I can. And remember, I'm doing vertical and horizontal pictures so that I can really amp up any need that I may have for that set. So I'm going to send probably the horizontal pictures to my customers. I use the horizontal stuff for videos, but the vertical is great for social media, especially Instagram. So, and if you're ever going to use anything for a reel, it really needs to be in that vertical format. So you're going to want a good mixture of both horizontal and vertical pictures. So I start by doing the far away pictures, the full set, and then I work my way down. So next I will take pictures of each cookie individually, and that's when I may switch to portrait mode, but I'm getting each cookie where I'm getting the entire cookie, but each cookie on its own. It's my recommendation that you also take each individual cookie picture on photo mode as well, so that you have just a regular picture of it and then maybe a more stylistic picture of it with the portrait mode. So make sure you're getting one picture at least of each mode for each cookie design that you've done. After I make sure I have a picture of each individual cookie, well, then I might take pictures of groupings of cookies. So I might take a picture of 3 cookies or 2 cookies or a corner of a cookie and another cookie, so that there's just some more, again, that stylistic approach where you have some creative pictures and not just your normal simplistic same old pictures. So that gives you some options again for social media posting. I don't normally send those to clients, but I do keep those in my back pocket for any social media post. And then finally, I will zoom in and I will make sure I'm getting those really close up shots of the details. So on that graduation book cookie, I will zoom in and make sure that I'm getting that you can see the tassels or the book pages, or on the diploma that you can see the ribbon or the stars on the congratulations grad cookie. I really zoom in and I take those close-ups of those cookies at that time. So again, I'm working my way out to end to kind of help myself remember what I've taken pictures of. So I'll take a full set and then I'll take individual pictures and then I'll take some really close up pictures of the cookies. And the manner in which you do this is totally up to you. So sometimes I'll take all of my horizontal pictures first. So I'll do all of my horizontal out to in close-ups first, and then I'll go vertical and I'll do the same thing. So I'll take full sets with vertical format, and then I will kind of get closer and take all of my close-up pictures then as well. So the one thing that you need to do before you ever take off your cookies and say you're done photographing your set is always keep going back through your pictures. Make sure you have everything that you need to take before moving your cookies off of your table. So I'm constantly checking, and after I have all of my pictures and I'm satisfied that I have all of the pictures that I need, next I'm going to video my set. Now with videoing, I tend to do the same routine. So I will video the entire set first, and then I'll work my way in and we'll do closer shots next. So first off, I'm going to video the entire set vertically and horizontally. And I will take at least one video by doing the entire set in one cut. So I will start with my phone up a little bit higher so that you can see the entire set. And then I'll move my phone closer and I'll go slowly over every single design so that the camera captures every single design. and then I will slowly move my camera back up to capture the full set again. This is really easy content for Reels, so you're able, especially when you're doing the vertical video, and by moving that camera slowly, you have plenty of time to capture all of the details of the whole set. And then all you have to do is just add music to it in a reel and you are ready to go. It's one of the easier ways to make content is whenever you're able to do one complete video, there's zero editing on that video. You just slap it into Instagram or TikTok and just add music and you're done. The other thing I encourage you to do is take a video of every single cookie up close. And this is another way to make easy content. So if you take a really up close video of each cookie and you kind of sweep your camera up and over the cookie and get in all of the details, then you're able to talk about each design individually or have an individual post on your social media for each one of those designs or just a few of the designs. But again, it's really easy. You can just put music on it or you can add a voiceover. You can add that to how you decorated the cookie if you record your process of decorating, which we could talk about in a whole nother video. But whatever you choose to do, it's just nice to have that close-up video in addition to the close-up pictures that you can use for potential content. Now, keep in mind, I wouldn't send all of these to any customer. I wouldn't even send necessarily any videos to any customers. That is strictly for you and your social media content, your potential promotion of your business, not necessarily for the customer. What I send to the customer is edited and watermarked pictures of the entire set, and then I send one picture of a close-up of each design. So it depends on how many pictures, how many designs I have, depends on how many pictures I send to the client. In this particular design, I would have sent the full shot and then I would have sent a picture of each design. And I had 7 designs in this set. So I would have sent a total of 8 pictures to the client, each one of them edited and each one of them watermarked. And of course, be careful holding the cookies as you're taking pictures of them. I am a complete klutz, and so I dropped this cookie. You'll see later I dropped another cookie. So I am a complete klutz and I most definitely need to be more careful when picking up the cookies and take my time. Now I did want to show you one more photographing option that you have when taking pictures of each individual cookie. And I used to do this with every single design that I had. I kind of moved away from it for a little while and I have started doing it somewhat again. So I want to show you a trick that I've actually already made a video on my actual YouTube, but it's taking pictures with your cookies on top of a tall vase. So again, I have an entire video on this. If you want to learn more, I will link it down below. But basically, when you put a vase down or any tall of anything, it can be anything that's somewhat smaller so that it can hide behind the cookie, but is tall enough to give the cookie some height off of the other designs. What your camera will do is it will automatically blur the background, and that creates this really cool effect. So you have a beautiful blurred background that matches your cookie because it's the cookies of your set. So it's really beautiful in the background, and yet your camera will focus on the cookie that's in the forefront. And this is just an automatic thing that your camera does. There's no special feature. It is just in your photo app, just your normal photo settings. You don't even have to do portrait mode for this, just your regular photo in your camera. You can just take a picture of your cookie, but when it's at a height that's pretty well above the other cookies, it will automatically blur the background and just focus on the cookie that you have on the vase with no extra editing on your part. It's super easy, really cool effect. And I always got really good feedback from the customers when I did this, when I sent them cookies that were like this. So I highly recommend if you're looking for just a really cool way, an easy way to add a little bit more oomph to maybe the pictures that you send to your clients. This is a really super easy way to do it. And I found this vase at Goodwill for like 50 cents or $1, something like that. So it's very inexpensive. And I do want to circle back to the thought I had before I interrupted myself earlier when I was talking about the photo settings in your phone. I do want to reiterate that you cannot rely on your customers to take good pictures of your cookies. Most of the time, the pictures that they are going to post of their event that advertise your cookie cookies in any way, they will probably have the packaging on them. If you sent them heat sealed, which I highly recommend that you do, they will be placed kind of funny how you wouldn't probably place them on the event table. It's not going to be a great representation of your cookies. It's just not. I wish there was another way to put that, but it's just not going to be the best showcase of your work. The best advertisement that you are going to give your customer is that edited and watermarked picture or multiple pictures of your set. And so that's why it's so important to send your own pictures to them, because more than likely they know that's the best picture of those cookies. It's a memory for them. It's a keepsake for your customer for their event, but also they are way more likely to post that picture alongside all their other pictures with their event. And then that is the great advertisement for your set. That is the great advertisement for your business, not necessarily the pictures that they post. So that's why I highly recommend always send a picture to your client. Even if you take one picture of the cookies, just one, and you edit that picture, that's still going to be a better representation of your business than what they probably will provide on their own. All right, let's finish up this video by talking about how I edit these pictures on my phone. I know a lot of people use Lightroom, there is a free Lightroom version, and I do use that for a lot of my personal pictures. But for my business pictures, I actually use an app called Snapseed, which also is a free app. Once you download the app, you will open it and it will ask you to tap anywhere to open a photo. Then you will need to wait until the bottom part loads completely and you see a row of pictures, and then you can click open from device. I have found that if you open up a picture before this section loads, it will go to your camera and not actually the photo roll. So just give it a second. I don't know why this is a glitch in their program or what, but just give it a second, let the photos load, and then click on the one you want to edit, or you can open from device. Either way, you can either scroll and find the picture that you want, or you can click on open from device. You can see from how long I'm scrolling how many pictures I took of this set for this video, but it was quite a bit, and you don't have to take as many. You will get comfortable with the amount that you want to take. Again, I'm a content creator, so my whole business is to have these videos and these photos, and so it's very, very important that I make sure I take a ton of content, and so I have options. So just know that just because I took this many for my own personal preference, that doesn't mean that you have to take that many. You take whatever you feel like you need for your business. But for me, I needed quite a bit in order to create all of the videos and all of the things that I've made out of this one set of cookies. Once you've clicked on your picture that you want to edit, you will click on the bottom row, which has looks, tools, or export, and click on tools. The first thing I do is I click on tune image, which is in the top left corner. Now, to unlock all of the things that you can edit your image with here, you actually have to touch the screen and scroll up a little bit, and then you will see all of the different editing options for you available in this part of Snapseed. Now, when you let go, wherever you are is what options you have to edit your picture. So we're going to start with the very first one, which is brightness. And then in order to change the brightness, you will move your finger either right to add brightness or left to take away brightness. So normally with my pictures, I do have to add more brightness. It's very rare for me to ever take away brightness. So I'm going to get the brightness where I want it, which is at plus 35 for this picture. Then I'm going to scroll up a little bit to get to the next feature, which is contrast. And I'm going to take away a little bit of the contrast. This is a dark set, so I don't need quite as much contrast. Saturation means the colors, the vibrancy of the colors in your set. So I don't add or take away very much there. I kind of leave it similar to what it is in the picture. Ambiance. This is an interesting one. Sometimes I add quite a bit of ambiance. Sometimes I take it away. It really just depends. Overall, it kind of lightens the whole picture when you add ambiance. If you take it away, it kind of takes away some of the vibrancy. So if I'm doing a warmer set, sometimes I may take it away. Whereas if I'm doing a brighter set, sometimes I might add to it. So it just kind of depends on my set. The next two settings in Snapseed are highlights and shadows. And highlights take the bright areas of your picture and it either makes those areas brighter or darker. Shadows takes the dark areas of your picture and make them brighter or darker. And truthfully, it really depends on every single set on which way I go. So sometimes I make the highlights higher and the shadows higher. Sometimes I make the highlights higher and the shadows darker. And sometimes, and I feel like this happens maybe more than others, I'll make the highlights darker and the shadows higher. So you really just have to play around with it. Just again, go back and forth. Just see what looks better. If it looks better, then that's great. Move on to the next setting. If it looks worse, then fix it. So that's really kind of all I do. And I finish up with the warmth. And again, I don't change this like saturation. I don't modify this hardly at all. I may go up 1, 2, or 3, or I may go down 1, 2, or 3, but that's pretty much as far as I go. Occasionally I might go to -4 or +4, but that's really, I don't go much more than that. And that's because warmth really changes the coloring in your picture, in your cookies. So be very careful with using the warmth. Once you have all of those settings how you want them, we're going to go to the next editing feature I use, which again is under the tools at the bottom of your app, and you're going to click on details. Now details has 2 different editing features under it. It has structure and sharpening. Structure kind of enhances the quality of the entire picture altogether, where sharpening kind of focuses on the details in the picture. So I do add both. I add structure and sharpening to every single picture, and it kind of depends, but usually it's around 10 that I will add to both of those features. Next up, I will change the white balance just a little bit, and this is just the temperature, so it's how much yellow is in your picture. It'll either increase the yellow or it'll take it out. And I'm sure there's probably way more in scientific explanation of that, but for me, that's what I see. Is I see the warmth. It either adds warmth or it takes away warmth. And so a lot of times my pictures are just a tiny bit on the warm side. I think that has to do with like the natural lighting, and my just like my overhead lighting is a little bit yellow. So I tend to like to take out a little bit of that yellow if I can, and I barely touch it as well. I kind of do just like a -3, -4. There have been times where I've had to go all the way to -7 when I'm taking pictures at night or something like that, and I have really artificial light in there. But other than that, that is the main 3 editing things that I do for every single picture. But occasionally there is something in my picture that I do not want to be there or I need to fix, and so I'm able to use the healing option under tools. So that is what I'm doing now. I had no idea that I had accidentally left a piece of graduation confetti on the main board where my cookies were. I didn't like how that looked. It looked funny in the pictures, so I'm going to edit that out using the healing tool. Now, when using the healing feature on the tools, you are going to want to zoom in and get as close as you can to the area that you need to fix. So you zoom just like you do with any other feature on your iPhone by pinching your fingers back and forth on the screen. Just make sure you have 2 fingers. If you want to zoom in, you spread your fingers apart. If you want to zoom out, you put them back together. Now, fixing it is really easy. You just take 1 finger and you kind of circle the area that you want to fix. So it'll start to heal it right away, that area. Then you can just keep circling and you keep circling and you keep scrubbing kind of like a crayon, and you just go back and forth until the area looks blended in to its background. So you kind of want to do this in small sections, and it may take a little while for it to kind of blend together well. But as you can see, as I'm working, it's just slowly blending that area and healing that. And before I'm done, you will not even see any confetti left. It'll just look like the wood background. Really, really cool. Great feature. And I have used it many, many times. So I have used it to take away cookie crumbs on my table on top of other cookies. Sometimes I have crumbs I don't realize, and they will be on top of a cookie, and it drives me crazy to see that in a picture. Sometimes I have had a piece of fuzz, a piece of lint in a picture that I didn't realize that was there, and it's embarrassing. So of course I took that out. So this feature is really, really cool. So you don't have to worry so much about little imperfections in your pictures. If you want them gone, you can make them go away really easy with this app. And that's why I tend to use this app over Lightroom, is a lot of times just for this feature alone, which I think is a really great plus. And again, this is a free app. So as soon as you learn it, it's really, really easy to do. And there is an undo feature on the bottom. So if something happens and you don't like how it looks, you can always do the undo button, and it'll go back until you are at a spot that you like. And you can literally just keep messing with it over and over and over again until that area is blended enough together that it looks natural in the picture and nobody will be able to tell that you edited it. And then to check how the area looks in the full picture, because remember, this is super zoomed in, so you can always just zoom back out by pinching out your fingers and you can see how it looks. If you like the edit, you can click the check on the bottom right corner, and that will completely fix the problem and save that as your new picture. So just click that little check button and you are ready to go. If you look back at your picture, that piece of confetti is completely gone. All right, that's all I'm going to do for this picture. Now, sometimes I do have to crop my pictures if I didn't notice that in the top right-hand corner you could see off the edge of the table or something along those lines. Sometimes you do have to crop. So that is another feature under the tools toolbar. But for this picture, I'm done. I don't really need to do anything else to it, and I'm just ready to export it to my camera roll. So on the main toolbar, on the very bottom right, you'll see export. If you click on that, you'll have some options: share, open in, save a copy, and export. I typically choose to save a copy. That way it doesn't actually hurt my original image. So if I ever want to make different edits to the original, it's still there. This is just an edited copy. As soon as I'm done editing all of my pictures, I do go and watermark them. And I will share with you guys in another video how I do that and what that looks like. But Easy Watermark is the app that I use to do that. Thank you so much for sticking with me through this long video. Just to recap, make sure you are always taking your pictures in front of natural light. Have artificial light as well if you can. Just make sure you're using a daylight bulb and not a warm bulb. Play with textures, play with different depths. Don't be afraid of mixing patterns, of mixing different types of mediums and props, and maybe adding some seasonal props in with just everyday decorations that you may find around your house. You're not ever going to get better until you practice. So keep in mind, every set can help you to get better and better and better. Don't expect perfection. Nobody expects perfection. And always remember that editing is your friend. So you may have the best setup ever, but unless you are editing your pictures as well and doing all of those things to make them look even better, you are missing out. So set up for success, have all of the different elements in place, but always keep in mind, editing is also your friend. Thank you for watching. I'm so excited I was finally able to bring you this video on how I set up my pictures and how I edit them. And I will see you soon with more member exclusive content, including how I watermark my pictures. So I'll see you soon, my sweet friends. Bye-bye.